Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Rotary Unplugged. I'm Craig Clark, one of the hosts, along with producer J.R. Muller. We welcome you to another episode of Getting to Know a Fellow Rotarian. If you've followed along, you know we kind of go two routes here, getting to know the person as well as the Rotary story of that individual. So we typically have a good time. We laugh, we cry. Sometimes we get full-on fisticuffs. So we never know where this is going to go. But hopefully today should be a smooth one. And we welcome our former Rotary president, Derek Aten. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you. I appreciate being on.
We deleted that episode with fisticuffs, so we don't need to talk about that. But
Good,
hopefully
good.
we'll have a pleasant chat today. So tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll get to know you as a Rotarian here in a minute, but give us a little insight. Where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm a Grand Rapids born and bred. Grew up on the northeast side of Grand Rapids. Went to Creston High School, which unfortunately
Okay.
no longer exists.
Yeah.
Uh, Grew up playing sports, football, basketball, baseball through high school. Um, and then went to Central Michigan for my undergrad in finance, where I met my now wife.
Hmm.
Started dating when we were 19, and now we've been married for 23 years. Um, Now live in Grandville.
Hmm.
We have two wonderful kids. My daughter Ella just finished her freshman year at Michigan State, and my son Dylan just finished his freshman year at Granville High School.
Oh, okay.
Um, so the kids are, they're around for the summer as much as teenagers are. My son just got his driver's license a couple of weeks ago,
I was
so it's
gonna
nice
ask.
that,
Yeah.
yeah. So he can take himself to work and to his sports practices and all of that. So that's been a little bit of a game changer for us. So it's been
It's a
nice.
lot of newfound freedom, right?
Absolutely.
I have three kids, and my middle child is in marching band. I live up here in Rockford, and when she got her driver's license, and we finally got her a car and allowed her to drive to her own practices and all the events, I felt like I just quit a second job. I had so much free time. I didn't
Absolutely.
know what to do with it.
Right.
Now, you said you went to Creston. I wonder, I'm from Lansing originally, and my old high school, Lansing Eastern, was recently torn down. I
Oh,
mean, just all of it is gone, making way for
wow.
hospitals expanding.
Hmm.
So I wonder, how does that feel for you when I don't know if you go to Lucy's Cafe or maybe when you're going up to the Rotary at the country club, you look at your old high school and like, where's my old high school? Even though
Yeah,
it's still there, does that feel different?
it does. Thankfully, the building's still being utilized. That's
Yeah.
where City Middle and City High School
Right.
are. Because it's a beautiful old building,
It looks like
has
it.
a lot of character to it. And so, yeah, I drive by it periodically. Yeah, going to Rotary at Kent. I mean, I, in for 3 summers in high school to college, I worked as a lifeguard at Kent. So, um,
Okay.
yep. So I'm very familiar with Kent and the area, and just growing up, near there, and
What was
so
the
it's always
mascot for Creston?
the
Is it
polar bears.
polar bear?
Yeah, which is so fitting for Michigan, but
Yeah, totally a Grand Rapids thing for sure. Now,
right,
I was surprised to hear you say you went to CMU.
I did.
I look at you as a green and white guy, but you said
Yes,
you went to CMU.
that's a big misconception about me. I went to CMU and I had my MBA from Grand Valley, but
Hmm.
I grew up a Michigan State fan. My grandparents had season tickets to uh,
Uh,
for football and basketball, so I grew up going to games. I've traveled to watch Michigan State. I went to the Rose Bowl. I've been to Big Ten championships for football and basketball. Um, and now that my daughter goes there, it's great. For me, it came down to CMU and Michigan State of where to go. And I always say that's one of my two life regrets that I will admit is that I didn't end up going to Michigan State, especially considering they won the national championship in basketball. What was my senior year in 2000? So,
yeah.
um, but then my wife gets mad when I say that because then she says, "Well, then we would never have met." And
Oh,
because
wow.
we met at CMU. But I
Okay.
said, "Oh, fate would happen anyhow. I'm sure we would have met somehow."
Yeah, so you studied finance, you said, right? And you work
Correct.
in commercial banking. So you've
Right.
kind of known your career for a while. What led you to finance in college?
Yeah, I went to CMU thinking I wanted to go into broadcasting. My dream was to be like a broadcaster on ESPN, Sports Center type thing. Um, and then soon realized that the lifestyle to get to that point
Yeah,
was quite a journey.
yeah.
And, I'm not a very patient person. So I just didn't feel that was good for me. And so, just the money side of things and business was intriguing to me. So I went
Hmm.
the finance route and with the MBA. And so I've been in banking since 2001. Um, and what I do now, I work for like Michigan Credit Union in commercial lending, but I'm kind of a specialist in the sense that um, I work with financing a lot of kind of in the M&A space, so mergers and acquisitions. So
Hmm.
I finance. There's a special product through the SBA or Small Business Administration that we utilize to finance partner buyouts, a business buying a business, a
Yeah.
person buying a business, key employees buying into the company. And these are not, large, huge corporations. These are all locally owned, um, small to medium sized businesses. I always say, I'm a Main Street banker. I'm not a Wall Street banker.
Yeah. Is Lake Michigan Credit Union, that's statewide though, right? In terms of its reach?
Yes, we LMCU is in Michigan and in Florida.
Oh,
We are the largest credit union in the state, and I believe we're in the top 15 nationally, size-wise, in
really?
terms of credit unions.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's
my family banks there. We don't anywhere near help make us a large depositor, but boy, you see the credit union everywhere and mighty convenient. So interesting. I didn't realize they were that big though. So,
Yeah, they are, and I've only been here for about 15 months.
hmm,
Prior to that, I've this is my first time working for a credit union.
okay.
The culture is quite different. I've worked for large national banks. I've worked for a community bank, and um, so it's a nice mixture. And I really, like I said, I enjoy the culture of LMCU. But we compete with all the big boys. We offer the same products and services that any other financial institution can.
Yeah, yeah. So not to stereotype you as a banker, but one of the things that you had shared with us is, we kind of share some unique things. You spoke about your love of golf. So I don't know if banking and golfing, again, stereotyping, but you said just, I think, was it recently you golfed 122 holes in one day? What
I
in the world
did.
is that
I
for?
did. Yeah, being a banker and golfing is a cliche, but I love it. I'm happy for it. I love to fulfill it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so um, I used to serve on the board of the First Tee of West Michigan, and the First Tee is a national organization and nonprofit that exposes the game of golf and life lessons to um, kids from every background. But the original intent is to expose the game of golf to kids that maybe otherwise wouldn't have access to the
Hmm.
sport. And so, yeah, so I served on the board for about 5 years, and I've stayed in touch with them. They've grown phenomenally, and yeah, annually they do a golf marathon at various clubs around West Michigan. And this year I did the marathon, and essentially, you play by yourself. I had my family, ride with me in the cart for periods of time, but you just zoom around the course, play as quickly as you can, and friends and family donated, either flat amounts or that you can donate, I'll give you $1 for every hole you play or
Yeah.
things of that nature. Yeah, so that day I played 122 holes from about 7:30 in the morning to about 5:30 p.m. Honestly, I
Wow.
would have played more, but there was the club which I played at has their women's league on Tuesday evenings, so it got to the point where there's just nowhere for me to go anymore. I had more in the tank, but I'm happy with 122 holes.
Jeez.
I raised about $2,400
Oh,
for the
wow.
organization, so I was very pleased with that.
That's great. I was going to ask, like, do they clear the golf course for you? Do you have the thing to yourself?
Yeah, in the morning it was clear. I think at about two, members were out playing. But I had a little orange flag on my cart, and they told everyone coming out, like, hey, if you see a cart coming through with an orange flag, kind of let them go through. So everyone was very, amenable to that, and so I was able to zoom around. but then yeah, then just started to hit some roadblocks, so it slowed it down a little bit. So, but it was great.
I would have lost my ball in the first hole, and I probably would have got an 18, maybe the way I play. So I
Yeah,
wouldn't have been a big
I
contributor.
I lost a lot of balls that day. I'm not gonna lie, because also you hit a ball and like yeah, you look for about 30 seconds, and if you can't find it, drop one onto the next. So
Yeah.
yep.
My dad was in sales, and they used to intentionally lose balls. They'd put the logos on the ball and leave them everywhere in the course. So
It's marketing, right? Yeah.
yeah, right on. So another passion of yours, we'll get to Rotary here in a second, but I didn't want to overlook this. You are well traveled. You definitely like to get around, and you said a family trip coming up, what, this week?
Yes, this Thursday, in a couple
All
of
right.
days, we leave, flying to Rome, and we'll be there for a couple of days, seeing all of the sights, and then we're hopping on a cruise ship and going around the Mediterranean with two
Wow.
stops in Greece, Mykonos and Santorini. Then we have a stop in Turkey, Ephesus, and then back to an island off Italy, Capri, and then back home. So it's a 7-day cruise with a couple of days, in Rome in front of that. So definitely looking
Fun.
forward to it.
Your kids enjoy that international travel as much as you, and I'm assuming your wife?
They do, yes. The kids, they've been to Alaska, they've been to Hawaii,
Wow.
they've been to South Africa, which was an amazing trip we did just before COVID. So
Oh,
they're a little bit used to the longer plane rides. So
wow.
yeah, they're ready for it. They're excited.
That's great. That's great. I have a few places in Italy, so maybe I'll see you when you're over there. It
All
depends
right.
that time of year. So, all right, let's get to know Derek the Rotarian. And boy, what a story you have. You've been intimately involved. You told me for over 21 years. What led you to Rotary?
Yeah, so in high school when I was at Creston, I was a Interact member at our
Oh,
club.
okay. All right.
And so my junior and senior years of high school, I would come to Rotary, as an Interact member. Back then, meetings were held exclusively at the Amway Grand Plaza in the Pantland Ballroom. I remember it was always exciting for me to, that day put on a tie and, go to this fancy place and have this fancy lunch with all these people
Yeah,
and
yeah.
um, enjoyed it, meeting a ton of different folks. And back then, I mean, the club had I think well over 400 members. That
Wow.
was back in the heyday. Um, and then, after undergrad, I moved out west for a few years. And when I came back, we moved back, and I was looking to get plugged into the business community. And
Mm.
I was like, oh, Rotary. And where I worked at the time, one of my colleagues was a member, Brian Downs. And so he got me plugged in. And um, when I joined, I was 25. And back then, there was a big application process. In fact,
Mm.
my manager at the time at the bank, Brian was in a different department, but my manager had to write a letter why he wanted me to join the club and not him. Because I
Okay.
didn't have the title at the
Oh, that's
time
right. Yeah, yeah.
that Rotary required, but
Yeah.
because I was, a former Interact student and wanted to be involved. Yeah, so I was 25 when I joined. At the time, I don't know if there was another member under the age of 40. you know,
Really?
yeah. Walking into the room was pretty intimidating for a 25-year-old. A lot of white hair in the room. So but I jumped in with both feet. I immediately got involved with Strive, our mentoring program,
Mm.
and I was a mentor for 10 or 11 years, and maybe 5 of that I was the chair or co-chair of the program.
Really?
um, and during that time we made a lot of different changes to the program, which still now exists. So yeah, Stride was kind of my foray to get in, like I said, right away, with the service aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah. What about service above selfie? I believe you have a role in that too. Tell us about
i,
that.
I did. So
It's like Derek's freezing up on us a little bit. I choked him.
I'm sorry.
We lost you there for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. um,
That's okay. Actually, just pause for 1 second. I'll cut that section out. So I'll give
okay.
you a countdown again. Three, two, one.
So tell us more about service above selfie. I know you're instrumental in starting that as well.
Correct. Yeah. In my year as president in 2015 to 16, at the end of every meeting, we acknowledge the speaker and give them the certificate for a clean water filter. And when I would do that at the end of each meeting with the speaker next to me, I would say, we're going to take a service above selfie. And so, we would turn around with the club behind us
Okay.
and we would snap a photo and then I would post it, on social media and so forth. So, out of that, Neil Marchand, past president, said, hey, that's interesting, and so Neil and I developed the Service Above Selfie contest, which we did for a number of years. It basically, essentially, COVID kind of ended that.
Yeah.
We did it one more year at post-COVID, but essentially it was a way for folks when they're out in the community volunteering to snap a selfie of them and their group, doing something fun, something creative. And we had a process of how they, submitted their entries, and then we had a committee that chose first, second place winners, and then we had monetary rewards that went to the winners and went to the organization of where they were volunteering, not to the volunteer themselves
Oh,
personally, but
cool.
to that organization. So, yeah, that was a neat way, just to encourage, volunteerism, in our
Hmm.
community, and there was a financial reward to the organization. So it was pretty neat.
Clever. I know when I go to events, around town, taking that selfie with fellow Rotarians, we all kind of gather at some point.
Right.
Typically Shelley Irwin's involved,
Oh
believe it
yeah,
or
she's a
not. But
great, great one with
you
that.
kind of forget that, when you're at some of these other events that a lot of fellow Rotarians among you. So it's always fun.
Oh
Great way
yeah,
to bring us together, right, as community. So,
absolutely.
so what about the Community Engagement Committee? You had a role in that as well?
Yeah. So when I was on the board, I remember a board meeting at Michael Hampton's office, and we were just talking about what we do, and I said, we're a service club, but who, how much do we actually serve?
Yeah.
Historically, the club was just a check writing club,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Because the history of the club was more the kind of titans of industry,
Hmm.
at our meetings, the DeVosses and Cooks and Myers and Bissells of the world.
Right.
And I said, other than Strive, and Strive isn't for everyone because it's quite a time commitment.
Hmm.
Who are we serving? And so the idea was to create, some one-off, service projects that Rotarians could go to, on a Saturday morning or what have you. And the idea was to partner with members of our club who were, a part of nonprofits to help their organizations. And so started to do that. And as that evolved, came to be, creating an actual committee for it, which now is the Community Engagement Committee.
Yeah. I'm on that committee, and I just got an email from Claire this week, and the list of opportunities I think is 5 pages long and just
Yeah, great.
full of people. So yeah, for the over a year now I've been involved with the organization. That has been one of my favorites to
Oh yeah.
just kind of get involved. Now, second to that would be Club 77. I'm a big fan of that, and I was told you had a role in that as well.
Yeah, so when I was kind of coming up and, in my late 20s, I don't know, early 30s, we started it and the club started to get a little bit younger. And I said, well, for us younger members, let's go do a happy hour, right?
Yeah.
And we called it like the under 40. I think it was like, under 40 members. And, at the time there were maybe five of us, and then,
Wow.
it evolved and grew. And then others started to hear of it. And they said, well, I want to come,
Yeah.
I'm over 40, but I still want to come to a, happy hour, just to, get out of the setting of our normal luncheon and just it's more social, it's more personable, getting to know people better. And so eventually, that just kind of grew and grew. And then it ended up becoming Club 77, which is now a monthly occurrence for us. And I love it. It's a great way just to, again, be out of the regular routine or setting of our luncheons and,
Right.
getting to know folks.
Yeah, and they can open their doors, kind of showcase their either facility or program, or just have a little
Right.
connectivity to it. So
Yeah.
well done. Boy, you've been busy. You were the board president 15, 16, is that right?
Correct. Correct.
And what roles now? You're on the foundation board, is that right?
Right. So I served on the club board for a number of years, and then years president, then immediate past president, and then transitioned to the Charities Foundation board, which I've been now on for quite some time. And actually, with our fiscal year ending 6/30, my term with the Charities Foundation Board is coming to an end. And so I just tried to do some math today, but I think it's been probably close to 15 years, 15 consecutive years that I was on club board, club
Wow.
presidency, and then foundation board. So it's been a great run, and I'm excited for the leadership on those two boards and where it's going. And I just said, 15 years is quite a long time. So I'm excited that others have stepped up and want to be a part of those two boards. So
Yeah.
it's a good time for others to bring in different fresh ideas. And so I'm going to have some extra time on my hands after June 30th.
So you can get in 100 holes of golf per day.
Right, exactly.
Now, one final thing you told me about in 2021, creating the Community Impact Grant. Tell us about that.
Correct. Yeah. So with the foundation, we're in a very good financial position with a lot of cash in the corpus amount, and our spending policy or granting policy
Yeah.
is based on a formula of funds we have raised the previous fiscal year. And so each year, we have a defined amount that we can grant out. And post COVID, going through COVID, a lot of nonprofits struggled because they couldn't
Yeah.
host their fundraising events, the
Right.
galas, the golf
Mhm.
outings, the luncheons, and so forth. And I said, I just had the thought that, hey, we're sitting on all this cash. What are we going to do with it? What's kind of the end game? And so I developed the idea of, hey, why don't we do a one-time kind of exception to the rule here and designate a dollar amount, which ended up landing at $100,000. Got the buy-in from the foundation and the club boards. I developed a kind of a task force. We didn't want to call it a committee because we have enough of those, but developed a task force of about, I think it was 7 or 8 Rotarians that I selected. And so we had a whole process where I can't remember what the term was or time frame. I want to say maybe 90 days. Folks submitted applications. We have this whole rubric and a scoring system. And then we ended up granting, I believe it was 7 different local nonprofits in various amounts ranging from,
Yeah.
I think 2,000 was maybe the smallest up to, I want to say maybe 20 was the largest.
Wow.
But in total granted out $100,000 that year. So was pretty excited about that. And that was a big thing for us. So, it was very well received in the community, and we got some good pub for it. So even better.
Wow. That's a lot. You've done so much, man. I know we've bumped into each other here and there at events, but this is what I love about not only hosting this podcast, but just hearing all the other interviews. Is just we get to know so much about a person that maybe we see every Thursday or
Right.
occasion. But boy, you have earned your break, my man. I mean, that is a lot. It's one thing just to be a member, right? You said 21 years, but easily 15, if not more. You've just had your sleeves rolled up and getting it done and creating a lot of fun stuff. So
I
this
have.
has
Yeah.
been encouraging, really, and motivating. I joined this club. I was kind of tired of some of the governing boards and all that I'm fine to do, but just to get involved and, like you said, the service aspect, the community aspect, and who
Right.
knew? You're kind of one of the founding fathers, if you will, of a lot of what I know as a positive Rotary experience now. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
No.
Really, really appreciate that. And of course, spending your time with us. And you've definitely earned the time to get out there and golf. Maybe not 100 holes per day, but a few extra. So
Right.
thank
Right.
you so much.
Absolutely.
How about you, JR? You get in about 120 holes a day?
Depends if there's golf oil involved. That's a
Some,
story
you
for
know,
a different time.
I
So,
wanted to
lube.
know, did the beer cart follow you around the whole time during
right.
it?
Yeah.
Maybe
I mean,
of
some lube juice definitely helps, right?
Hey,
It keeps
gotta
you
stay,
loose.
gotta stay hydrated. That's for sure. It's very
Absolutely.
important.
that's
So,
fun.
but well, hey, appreciate your time here today. Of course,
No,
this episode and all the rest of them can be found at grrotary.org/unplugged, or you can actually catch it at the Apple Podcast application as well. Just do a search there for Grand Rapids Rotary Unplugged as well. So, wishing everybody
excellent.
awesome week. Thanks again for your time.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.